The wedding is fast approaching, and why is no one listening to Mrs Hughes? So now that Mrs Hughes and Carson have had their awkward sex chat via Mrs Patmore, the wedding is going ahead, so they're planning on where it's going to take place. Mrs Hughes doesn't want it to happen at the Abbey because she doesn't want to be a servant on her wedding day, fair enough. But Carson being Carson, he needs to be at the Abbey. Lord Grantham also kindly offered them the servant hall, which they could stick up a few decorations and have a lovely old time, but Lady Mary has other ideas. She's told him he can have any room he likes in the house, but Mrs Hughes still doesn't want to stay there. But Mary being Mary, and Carson being pretty much her surrogate father, neither of them are listening to Mrs Hughes, and she is not a happy bunny. But as we saw at the end of the episode, they are going to get married. It's going to be the wedding tonight. So, fingers crossed. Carson realises a happy wife is a happy life. Plus I really want to see Mrs Hughes take Lady Mary down a peg or two. In the village they're holding a fat stock which seems to be something with pigs. Prize-winning pigs, I don't really know. Lady Mary is jumping wholeheartedly into being the estate agent. Not an estate agent, but the agent for the estate. You get me. There was a whole bit with Pigman coming over and being like, oh, I want to talk to a man, the agent, don't worry yourself, Lady Mary. And she's like, I am the agent. So, the future's coming, guys. Anna is still sulking about being unable to have children. Apparently she's had quite a few miscarriages. It sounded like at least 3. Now between her going to prison and Bates going to prison, I'm not entirely sure how she's getting pregnant so much, but there you go. Please don't because as we later find on, it seems to be between 12 weeks. But, you know. So she tells Lady Mary, because Lady Mary's like, what is wrong with you? Why are you still sulking? And Mary offers to take her to her doctor in Harley Street in London. Anna's like, there's no way I can afford that, it's too much. And Lady Mary, apparently now we're all okay with making jokes about Pamuk, but there you go. Like, he hasn't been mentioned at all, and then suddenly, oh, it's the last thing I can do since you've carried a dead Turk for me. Apparently it's okay, enough time has passed now that it's just a joke. So they go to Harley Street. Turns out Anna has a weak cervix and the doctor can just stitch it up next time she gets pregnant and hope for the best. Which makes me think, I feel like there's going to be a Banner baby. That's such a terrible name, isn't it? Banner. A Banner baby for Christmas, for the finale. There's going to be, isn't there? Daisy, it looks like it's going to do her old-timey GCSEs. I don't know what exams they were doing back then, but they've been looking into her doing some exams. So, yay! Daisy gets her GCSEs. She's also still raging against the machine. She's still convinced she's lost the farm for Mr Mason forever. So asks if she can speak to Lady Cora. So Baxter asks Cora. Cora's like, she can, but I don't know what she wants me to do. It's not even her fault, but okay. So she goes to speak to Cora and she's like, I'm cross with her. It's not even her, but she's part of the system. And you know, she's raging, guys, raging. But Cora's like, what do you want me to do? But she does point out to her, like, it was not your fault. He had already made his mind up. He was getting rid of the farms. But by the end of the episode, we seem to have come to a solution. A very handy solution, much like Lavinia. The very handy solution. Thomas is moping around, still convinced he's going to lose his job. And for some reason, Mr Carson, like, I know he's not liked him anyway, but suddenly he is desperate to get rid of him, even though I feel like they're not actually going to get rid of him. But it's... Why? There seems to be so many sudden, like, character changes. What's up with that, Julian Fellows? So Andy's spurning him and not talking to him, so he's mopey about that. And he's also on the lookout for a new job, desperate to get a job before he gets kicked out. So he goes off for an interview to be an assistant butler. And while he's there, the guy interviewing absolutely hates him, so why is he even bothering to do the interview? He like hates him before he's even stepped in. he's doing this interview. He's like, what is an assistant butler? Basically, an assistant butler does everything. He's a chauffeur one day, a valet another day, footman, everything. For, you know, less pay. But the future's coming. Gotta remember that, guys. So Thomas is he's a sad little onion at the moment. It's not looking good for him. Hospital wars are still raging on. A meeting is being held, and the Dowager Countess, Isabel, Murty, is that even his name? It's Dickie. What's his name? All I can think of is Isamurt. And Dr. Clarkson are at this meeting. Everyone's like, where's Cora? Turns out Cora wasn't invited. Which Isabel, who's like, Cora's on my side, I need her. Why is she not here? It turns out the Dowager Countess didn't invite her and was like, she's not needed. And they're like, yes, she is. And then there's a bit where Isabel said something, but the Dowager Countess is like, I hope you're not insinuating that she's like more powerful than I am. And everyone's just like, awkward. Also, my favourite bit of this episode was a Cora moment. So my favourite thing that has ever happened in Downton full stop was in the London season episode. And it's so dumb. But Cora comes walking down the stairs with the posture of, you know, how many times can I do this? With like all hunched over, sclomp, sclomp, sclomp down the stairs, and sees, I think it's Tom. I can't remember who it was, but she's just like, hello! And it's just the best thing ever. So there was an Elizabeth McGovern, hello! Again in this episode, and it just made me so happy. I've written in my notes, squish, squash, stirred or squashed. I don't really know what that means, but I feel like someone said the word stirred or squashed, and then it made me think of squish squash, which, if you guys haven't checked out on YouTube, I'll put a link below. The Maids of Downton, which is a comedy skit from like, it's been around for ages, but it's one of my favourite ever parodies, so you should watch it because it's really funny. Okay. And finally, Edith. When is she going to tell Mary? Surely it has to come out soon. How Mary hasn't already worked it out, I have no idea, because Robert's worked it out, for goodness sake, and she still hasn't known. Like, she still hasn't clicked. And considering she's always on the lookout for ways to just laugh at Edith, surely this would be the first thing she'd think of. So the editor at the newspaper is still being an idiot and just doesn't trust Edith at all because she's a woman. She's had to go down to London to sort him out, and he's just shouted at her a lot while Rosamund stood outside trying not to storm in there and just punch him in the face. While sorting out the fat stock show, they went down to the Drews farm to find out about the pigs, and George wanted to go and see the pigs, so Lady Mary takes them all. And Mrs Drew sees Marigold and is just really creepy. Really creepy. Now, I would have thought they'd seen them before. It's acting like this is the first time she's ever seen them since Marigold went to the big house. But I would have thought they went to church every Sunday. And everyone in the village would have gone to church every Sunday. So why she hasn't seen her before then, I'm not really sure. But she's acting like she's never seen her ever since she left the house. Then at the fat stock show, Mrs Drew turns up again and basically kidnaps Marigold. Now, how many times this child has been kidnapped at this point is beyond me, but there you go. Mr Drew realises that she's got her. They all whiz off back to the farm and go and take Marigold from her and give her back to Edith. And it's at that point that Mr Drew agrees with Lord Grantham that this can't go on and that it's just really awkward, and suddenly just agrees that despite having this farm in his family for over 100 years, he's just going to leave and take his crazy wife with him, which really, really conveniently frees up a farm. Now I wonder who is going to take on that farm. Like, Cora's literally already on the phone to Mr Mason saying, yo, we got you a farm. Also, take Daisy off our hands. This is how I see it ending. Daisy's going to be living on the farm with Mr Mason because Mr Mason is going to have to start this farm from scratch again. He's an old man, so I feel like Daisy's going to take it over. I'm saying that Anna is going to pop out Sprog. And you know what? I'm not entirely convinced that Gregson's dead. I feel like he might come back. Anyway, it's the wedding tonight.